Hi, this is Al Fuentes. Welcome to the Self-Empowerment Experience. Join me and my guests on a journey of their stories of their lives and how they have found empowerment through everyday life. It's inspiring, it's uplifting, it's exciting. People from all walks of life come on the program to share their tools, their resources, their insights, so that you may benefit from them. Thank you for stopping by and tuning in. So we're on the self-empowerment experience.
Okay.
And Kris McLaughlin is our beautiful guest today, which I'm really excited about because we've known each other for a long time. Mm-hmm. You're such a beautiful, powerful woman. And
Thank you.
I'm going to say a word that I want people to understand is not a kind of a buzzword for me. I don't say it to or about very many people, but goddess is definitely a word. And there's a few reasons for that. It's not just, you're a female, then you're a goddess. Because while I do believe all females can be goddesses, it's not, they're more human than goddess in nature. But for you and how connected you are to Mother Earth and how natural you are in your way of being and how you live very empowered both in your health and your food and your exercise, how you show up for your children and your family, how you just are amazing in business. So that word is not chosen lightly, and I love having... Yeah.
I don't take it lightly.
Yeah.
That's a lot to receive. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. But it's definitely deserved because I've seen and witnessed how magical and powerful you are. And so I really wanted to have you on. And this process is pretty simple. We just talk. It's casual.
Great.
And I'm going to ask you some questions about your discovery because my goal with this podcast is to share with people not just my stuff or my story or what I think is cool, but people's real life experience of their journeys and journeys to empowerment, journeys to the next level of their own life, which is very important. And you're one of those people that's been on a really cool journey. And and you're a very dear friend now. So I wanted to have you.
I'm so excited to be part of it and to talk about all this.
Yeah,
this
so
journey.
2020, it's here.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And before we get into what that's going to look like for you, just tell me a little bit about some of the things that have gone on recently in your life, kind of what's gone on with you, some of the transition, some of the growth. You can talk about anything you want.
Okay. I mean, how recent do you want me to be?
Recent or as far back as you want to go.
Sure. So it's so interesting because I was saying to my husband Ryan yesterday, I just feel totally different. So I don't really believe in, or I wasn't totally attached to, I will say, New Year's Eve. Like a random ending and new beginning to me doesn't make any sense after 365 days. Like I don't know the history. Maybe there is a reason, but I think it's random. But I will say there was something about the energy of like taking a moment to reflect, which is something I don't do enough probably. And then also like I did a lot of work last year around goddess. It's interesting that you mentioned that. As your descriptor last year in terms of exploration, and then kind of integrating what does that mean for me in my body, in my brain, in my life, to have goddess energy, to be goddess energy, and then when you're doing that kind of work, it can kind of be muddled and. It's like muddy water. It's like when the wave crashes and all of the stuff. Mm-hmm. But once it settles again and the sediment starts to fall back to the ocean floor, you can see like so clearly, it feels so good this way. Mm-hmm. Like I see it now. Sometimes you need external people to help you get there, journaling, movement, or, there's a lot of ways. Right. But I just felt this real, for the first time, sense of knowing in how I'm moving forward. I don't, and it's different than how I operated before on some levels, and I've never had that feeling before.
Yeah. So you said a couple things there, and I want to address them. One of the first things you said was this concept of New Year's Eve and a new day, because it's a new year, like it almost justifies choosing to live kind of a thing. and that's a hard programming for you because you you definitely understand what it's like to choose to live every day. So
Yes.
the difference between 19 and 20, isn't that I got the essence.
Yes, that was essence. But I love it for if that works for other people. I think that's great.
Yeah.
That energy.
Yeah, but I do believe it touches on something really simple. That if we can give less power to bigger events, whether it be an end of a year or a new year, and give more power to us choosing just day by day, which it is a day by day choice, because today we can choose it, but it doesn't mean tomorrow it's going to happen. We have to choose it every day. And I know as long as you and I both have been doing this journey, like it's a choice. We have to choose it every day.
It's easy to not choose it sometimes.
Oh man, the humanness is so strong.
Yes.
Within us all, it's like it can be pretty intense.
Yes.
And so it's active work, and I think that's a thing people misunderstand about this work. They think once you set it, it's good, and you don't have
Yes, that's true.
to do it.
Do you think that's a major misconception?
I do. I think two major misconceptions are, one, it's extremely difficult work to do, and it's not. It just takes you consistency and actually making a small time commitment of 5, 10, even 15 minutes is all you need. And I think the other one is okay, once you do something, then you're good. You got it. And it's not like that. It's not like
Well,
that.
same with building a muscle. You can't go to the gym one time and think your bicep's going to be bigger.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it doesn't. and if you don't use them, you lose them.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. And it's the brain's a muscle. And that's the other thing that's really strange is people think that, well, I don't think that way, so I'll never be able to think that way. I can't do something, so I'll never be able to do it. But when it comes to emotions, or I've always emotionally been this way, and that's just kind of how it's going to be. And that kind of brings me up to something for you. I mean, you've gone through some pretty big emotional transformations.
Yes.
Is there anything you want to talk about around that? Like just some of the shifts, some of the wake ups, some of the experiences that you kind of went through. I mean, you've been open about it in other forums, I know. So
Sure. Were you thinking of something specific?
Well, just even from the start of like doing some of this work and knowing something wasn't quite there. But then once you started realizing what it was, you're like, holy crap. Like,
Yeah, I mean, there's so many that my brain is like, I don't even know which one to grab for you.
Let's talk about the numbness.
The numbness, so the beginning. So, and when we first started working together, I assume like there's some preface to your podcast of the work you do.
Maybe not.
Channeling
I'm here to
good.
really share for people. So
Okay,
I'm
so
pretty
I
cool.
found myself in a very numb place where I was labeling it depressed, and through working with you in sessions, and then taking those sessions and working through patterns and things that were shut down and emotions that I wasn't allowing myself to either feel, or I was constantly judging myself to not be able to do things. I just realized all the layers that were holding me back. But that took years of work. I mean, that was 2014, that very first session. And there we're talking about how the work is intense and it can takes consistency. There are periods in there where like I wasn't doing it as much, and you kind of plateau and it's easy to walk away. If you keep going though with this kind of work where you're in tune with start getting that voice inside starts to become louder and clearer, or you pay more attention, or you're chipping the layers of it that have been built up around it off through the work. It does get easier to stay connected. I do think you get to a point where you can't, the consistency in the work becomes more ingrained in your life as an is, instead of
It's
a
just a way
need
of
to
life.
be, a way of being. Yeah.
And just so we're clear, like for people listening, your depressed state wasn't necessarily a big aha, like I know I'm depressed. I mean, you had beautiful children that were going well. You had a beautiful husband. You had a beautiful family.
Yes. This is how I explain it to people. It's like if you put me on paper, like my life resume, it looked like everything everybody would want. So healthy, came from a big fun family, created my own great family, have a house and a car, and I'm making my own money in my own way, and two beautiful kids, all the stuff that you're told, like you need all this and then you'll be happy. Like that's how you grow up: family, house, husband, right? And I had gotten there, and I was completely numb and not happy and sad even. Not even not happy, I was sad.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know what I needed to do, but I didn't want to stay there.
Right.
And so through self-discovery, I helped to work myself up out of that numb state. And that my life still looks the same on paper, on the outside now, but I'm just completely different inside. All of that work was internal.
Right. So everything on the outside now is pretty much exactly the same, except on the inside, you're lit up.
Correct.
And I would just say for anyone, again, out there, like the work, it doesn't have to be with somebody, although it can make it easier because, people who have gone through the work, and that's for me, it's like I've done the work, so I kind of understand, well, not kind of, I definitely know the very clear stepping stones for each individual person. But if you don't know anything or no one, or you financially, maybe you're not in a place where you can hire someone.
Right.
That's not a
I
big
was there
deal.
too. Yep.
Yeah. It's really about what could people do if they weren't, like simple journaling,
Sure.
things like that.
I think whether a lot of activities are running through my head right now, and I will say them. But I think in the essence of it, it's like taking the time to listen to the little voice, taking the time to find 2 minutes, even when you wake up. Like if before your feet hit the ground, you can find some gratitude for something, or check in and say, "Hey, body, how are we doing today?" Or just connect to self in a small way. But consistently every day, that you can start to feel into this person, your insides, taking your own cues, feeling your own body. And then the next step to that would be like journaling, starting to write down what you feel, what you see, what you hear, what you know. Walking, just like, especially if you have a dog, it's easy. You're always taking your dog for a walk to connect a little bit more to the things that you're seeing visually, the trees, the birds.
Feeling your feet hit the ground,
Yes.
touching the leash and feeling the texture of it.
Slowing down for something. Yeah. Even stoplights, when I teach manifesting classes, an easy way to incorporate a new habit is to do it while you're doing something else. So brushing your teeth is a great way. Instead of letting the mind run rampant for those 4 minutes or whatever that you're brushing your teeth, hopefully in the morning and the night, maybe another time too, you can take control of what your mind is doing and have a gratitude practice or a body scan practice or a like planning my day, how I want my day to go practice, something. And because you're already doing it, once you do it, I think the research is somewhere around like the 20th day mark. It is now an ingrained habit.
Right.
So if you can keep it going long enough, under a month, a couple of weeks of trying to remind yourself. And in the beginning, you'll forget. And halfway through brushing your teeth, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be having gratitude. And so then you just start. Yeah. That's the other big piece of this work, is that there's no judgment on yourself.
Acceptance.
You have to accept when you don't do it, miss it. It doesn't feel like it was an awesome meditation, or it doesn't, or you forgot to connect when you were walking because you were on your phone because you were in the middle of something important. All that's fine. Like, grace is the biggest counterpiece to consistency, I think.
That's a really great statement, because acceptance, grace, doesn't add any extra pressure when there's a guaranteed humanness that's going to trip things up.
The number one person you need to love is yourself. And so if you have children, it's an easy place to find what that feels like to care for, or like a parent or an animal, like someone, if you can feel how you feel to care for them, something you love deeply, and you realize you don't do that for yourself. I don't think most people deeply take care of themselves and literally say, like, it's okay, I love you so much, you're doing such a good job. Keep it up. That doesn't matter. You're totally good. You're gonna we don't better. Speak to ourselves that way.
Right. Isn't it amazing?
And it gives me the chills saying it now because it's still very new to me, and I'm feeling it deeper and deeper when I do it. Before, it was a little bit more like I was saying the words but not feeling the feels. And now I'm starting to feel the feels when I talk to myself that way. And it is the body reacts. Like, I feel organs soften. I feel my
muscles open up.
And also like a little shake, like, oh, okay, what's going on?
So I do want to just break down a little bit of what you said, because it is something you've become so natural at in a cool way. But when you talk about just before your feet hit the floor, having some gratitude thoughts, thinking about just something positive, or running through your day when you're brushing your teeth. What you're really saying from a scientific standpoint is you're trying to get people to the back of the head, because the front of the mind is really racing all the time.
Yeah,
and the minute we wake up, grab your phone, who's texted, what emails, and so we're in front mind loaded. And I talk about this a lot in the podcast because I really want people to understand from different people's perspectives and even from different people's descriptions why this is so important. It's so important. Gratitude itself is really a great thing, but what it does, you say, think about something that you're grateful for. Well, that you have to go to the back of the mind for. Mm-hmm. So you're already starting to exercise the back of the mind because you're in a bigger space. Then you have to zoom out. And again, you're exercising back of the mind. And to run through some gratitude from something and zoom out from this bigger picture, that is the exercise of the back of the brain. And that process is really important. When you're doing some heavy front-loaded activity like brushing your teeth, and you start running through the mindfulness of your day, or even planning your day, or thinking about just loving yourself, or being able to look in the mirror and just try to smile through the foam on your teeth. And if you've drooled 1 or 2 times in the course of brushing your teeth, it's because you're laughing or because you've went back of the brain. That means you're doing it right.
You lost the front of the brain. You lost all control. Yeah. That's the goal. Yeah. Drooling.
So just FYI, you might want to brush your teeth before you put your nice clothes on. Because I can tell you, between the laughter and the thoughts, there's plenty of times there's been drool on myself.
Nice.
No, but in all seriousness, that's what you're starting to ask people to do. And so whether it is gratitude, which is great, it can't be front of the mind gratitude. It can't be front of the mind planning. When you start saying, well, plan out your day. What do you want your day to look like? You got to think, if I was as happy as I could be, if I was as peaceful or as confident or as calm as I could be, what would I look like going into that meeting today, or texting that person, or doing whatever it is that we're doing? It's that exercise of the back of the brain that you've come to know so well that you're asking people to do through these very functional things. And I love, your mind's brilliant in so many ways, but I love the matter-of-factness of your mind. I love the simpleness of your mind, because there doesn't have to be some big glamour to it. It doesn't have to be some complicated process.
Right. Yeah.
And your mind works in such a brilliant way. And that's a big thing I talk about, and we've worked on, is just simple.
Yes. Simple doesn't mean easy. I think people have a connection between those two words. So I always preface simple with, it doesn't mean it's easy work, because I don't want people to think when I say it's simple that I'm saying it's easy. So simplicity is just the essence of something, right? It's the most in flow but powerful piece of something. Right. Easy is something that like you already do.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it wouldn't be hard.
If it's new and simple, it's not easy. That's simple can be difficult or harder work once the simplicity isn't about the ease, right?
Yeah, and if you ever want to understand this, let's go to your other point that you made, which was it's truly self-love.
Truly self-love.
Like real,
and that's a journey.
And it is, but
it's not a switch.
If you even think about simply looking in a mirror. And then closing your eyes and trying to see that same person and smile at that person. That's a simple act.
Yes.
But very difficult to accept when you're closing your eyes and trying to say, I love you in your mind's eye. Try to say, I love you in your heart space. I don't know what it was like for you, but for me, that was an extremely difficult, from a simple practice, but a very difficult thing to do.
Energetically, there's this push and pull for some reason that I don't know if it's just it's like awkward when you first start.
Loving on yourself?
Yeah. It's really awkward.
Yeah.
Because I have never ever have loved on myself.
Most people.
We grow up learning that comes from your mother or your father or your caretaker. It's never put on to us to love ourselves in our culture.
Plus it's all about loyalty to others, never yourself. It's about loving others, giving first, and then you'll receive from other people.
Yes.
It's never giving to yourself and receiving from yourself. It's always this external thing.
Yes.
And you must first give before you can receive. All these concepts that are out there. And love is a sacrificing thing. You got to sacrifice yourself to love others. That comes in family and nature, and it comes in based on human programming.
Yes.
Not real truth, but human programming. So that's why it's so
That's
difficult.
a lot. That's a big concept for most people to be like, oh yeah, I can see that. I agree with that.
Yeah, tell me more.
Well, it's just, we've attached so many positive, ingrained, and taken without critical thought that all of that is true. Give before you receive, sacrifice for love. But those are knowings in most human walking around worlds.
Right. Like I've had
That's like
conversations
glass is clear.
Yeah.
So to say that is not true, that's a concept that's out there in the world, but you don't have to believe that way or walk that way or live that way. And then you have this like, well, then is it selfish? Well, then it's selfish. Well, that's not right either.
Which also is what society will tell you.
Correct. So I'm just breaking that down because what you said is a boulder of
Big,
a concept.
bold sure, yeah.
It's a big, bold statement. So, but once you start the practice of self-love, you feel how lit up you get inside, how much more grace you have for yourself. It naturally flows to everyone around you.
Right.
So it's not like you actually get a better effect of give, nurture love to others, a more simple in essence in flow effect, than giving with sacrifice or loving, like the concept you were talking about. But to get there, it might feel awkward. It might feel like you're being selfish. It might feel like you're taking time for yourself when you should be giving it to someone else because that's what you already knew. And it's okay to have all those feelings. I would just implore people to give it a shot.
Yeah, because I've had a lot of people not necessarily fight me on it, but really have a hard time buying into it.
It's a big concept
because of how deeply you said it is a knowing.
It's a knowing.
And for me to come in and start breaking things differently, but here's something that people can't argue. If your cup is empty, you cannot give anything to somebody else.
Best analogy.
And what we do is we have this philosophy of, if we have a cup that has water in it, we'll give it all away. Eventually we will die of thirst. And what happens is how that translates is people give to everyone else, and then they get sick. And so the body then forces them to refill, but not by choice, but some sickness, whether it just be
something
a cold.
Drastic,
Yeah.
but it's taking you out of flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be a cold. It doesn't have to be some crazy sickness, although there's that too.
Sure.
And it forces people to slow down. Sometimes people just get so drained and like, I can't deal with anyone. And they get like so overwhelmed and they retreat by choice, not because of sickness, but just by choice of feeling.
I used to do that.
Yeah.
I was the master of retreating.
Yeah. And then you try to find some of yourself back and then you go right back to giving.
Yeah. And I need to be home alone with nobody in the dark for like 2 hours, 2 days.
Right. But the problem with that is, and what you used to know is that you can never grow that way. You can only
you stay at that same level. It's it's kind of like a base level, not healthy management, maybe barely managing.
I know for me, I was slowly, and I'd like to think that I was managing, but I was slowly getting worse. I don't know what it felt like.
I was getting worse because I was going into taking all that out on myself. So
because
it was like negative
resentment.
self-talk,
Right.
negative self-actions around, like, for me, it was control issues with food and not treating my body well with, like, eating disorder edges,
Right.
fringe. And when I lived alone and at that time in New York City, there was so much coming at me all day long, and then so much pressure at work, and I hadn't created a family yet, and I wasn't a big friend outreach person. I pretty much had myself, but I wasn't loving on myself yet. So myself could only get me so far. Like, I now have so much gratitude for that piece of my life because I kept myself going barely, to the point where, like, one day I just literally, by then I was in San Francisco, I woke up, something inside of me was just like, we're not doing this anymore. It's done. And it was like moving on.
Yeah.
Next day, and I changed, and it was scary, and I had to be okay with all of the cause and effects that happened to me and my body when I made this decision. But it was like something in me knew, like, this can't continue. You just have to go this other direction, and it's all going to work itself out. Like, it's going to take some time. And I innately knew that. But when you love on yourself and you're your reason for feeling full, not something external. That cup you were talking about of water, it never really empties.
No, it's overflowing, and you're sharing.
To go back to that, then you can just be sharing that. And there are days where I don't feel as full. Maybe I need maybe I need a break. Maybe I need rest is something I'm trying to do a lot more. That's another thing. Our culture is like, go, go, go. How much can you produce? I mean, my brokerage is a producing brokerage, and that's like the front, one of the leading attributes of our agents is we're producers. But you can produce and not kill yourself. I feel like culture is like produce and kill yourself at the same time.
Right.
Like there's this I only slept this much and I'm working out and going out and doing all this in between.
And that means you're successful.
That means you're successful. That's what's out there.
That's what society says.
That to me is not successful. So rest is another thing, another like counterpiece to something that we're all on this treadmill about.
Yeah. Well, when you started doing this work, and you've been open and public about this, that's why I'm sharing it. Is like
sure, of course, anything.
Right, but you were consistently for several years, a good 5 to 7, about a $30,000 a year
yes.
income producer.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And when you started going inward and started doing self-love, you didn't change your marketing. You didn't change what you did.
If anything, I did less of the things I was doing in terms of prospecting.
Outward
active actions, yes.
In real estate.
In real estate.
And you went from $30,000, and in 1 year, you hit 300?
Yes.
$300,000.
Yeah.
All by not doing one external action, but only working
internal.
on yourself, loving yourself, which is a huge statement. And I have tons of clients that go through big financial shifts like that for the same reason. But that for you is... and the money is designed to be, and by the way, money is not something that is ignored when you're working on spirituality.
No,
when you're working
yes.
on self-love,
because it's an energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And money is meant to be a reflection of how you love, see, and know yourself. And that's exactly what it was doing for you.
Yeah, I didn't know that then, so I'm still receiving that year, and that year was 2015. So we're five years later, I still think about that number and the amount of abundance that came. I'm still receiving that. I still have work to do on that. It's okay, first of all, to make that much money. Like I had that in my head. Like whatever that worth, the self-worth piece of not that I ever in a sentence or I could have said to you, I don't think I'm worth X amount of dollars.
It just felt real uncomfortable.
But it felt really uncomfortable. Yeah. And now to know it as an energetic gift of the work that I was doing and I took a big leap pathwise maybe within that year it's like a reflection of that feels really nice. Yeah. But my old construct, I still struggled with what that was.
Right. Because when it comes to love and you have to sacrifice yourself to love, you also have to sacrifice your wealth and abundance to be out there in the world. And you talk about the grind and sleeping 3 hours, all that stuff. The concept now is to just live in a place of love and abundance of self. And this is another illusion. It's like if I asked you to teach me the aerodynamics of rockets right now, and it's not something you've ever learned, which to this date, I'm pretty sure you don't know that, right?
Correct.
There's no way you could explain to me or take me through the understanding of what it was like. You couldn't share that with me.
True.
The thing is we have this illusion. Like you might be able to think you have it figured out just based on what you saw a rocket do, when it got launched.
Sure.
Hardly
maybe, yes.
Yeah, maybe, sure. We could make something up, right?
Yeah.
Because our ego could easily convince us that we could figure it out. The thing is you just truly, if you don't know it, you can't share it.
Yes.
That's just a simple fact.
Yes.
Love's no different. So if you don't know an inner love that is a truly unconditional love, a truly accepting kind of love, if you don't know that within, you can't share it. You can share what you think you've witnessed love in the movies or in a show or what your parents did or whatever, but whatever version of love that you really know, that's all you can really share. And so if you're missing a piece of self-love, then there is in your children or in your family and your friends some kind of version of conditional love that isn't the biggest version of love you could experience.
Ooh.
And that's another one of the transformations you've went through.
Going through, yes.
Well, sure, we're all going to continue, although you are magically a loving soul and being.
Thank you. Thank you. I try to stay very connected to it.
It's, I hear from people all the time, and you teach classes now at North & Co. on manifestation and other, actually.
Mindfulness.
Mindfulness. And those are things you're going to start teaching other places, right?
That's the goal. I have it in my vision. I haven't yet, and I haven't taken any steps besides writing it down.
Sure. And there's a couple places. There's your own location that you could have your own home, open up your home.
Yes,
There's
I could.
Places like this that you could
True.
open up to.
Mm-hmm.
There's little spaces you could rent, but that's going to be amazing to see you do that in 2020.
Thanks for the reminder.
And just subtle drops. Dropping little.
This is where the external partner of help comes in. Like, there are things when you're going through learning how to love yourself or connecting more to nature, to connect to yourself, and the things we were talking about earlier. You asked what could people do, and the list is like journaling, meditating, yoga. I mean, these are things that are available to everyone, and you know, with the internet, not necessarily cost you anything.
Zero.
Right? That can get you there. Mm-hmm. But you get in your own way a lot because you have these patterns and these thoughts, and you're attached to emotions, attached to the patterns and thoughts. Mm-hmm. To be a third party, to be a mirror. And friends can be a mirror. A great friend can be a mirror, like an accountability partner, to do work with. If you don't want to have like necessarily a coach type relationship, you could have a friend that you do it with. I have a friend who started offering just to her circle to once a month say what you were working on, and she would just text to check in with you, help keep you on track. I call it, it's kind of like what my parenting style is. I call it like the bumpers in the bowling alleys that they fill up so that you can hit the pins. So like you're gonna weave, and it's not gonna be a straight line, but there's someone there to kind of, so you don't get too far off that path. In the beginning, I think it's very, very helpful. Hard to do for yourself.
So this was a little bumper moment.
Total bumper moment for me, yes.
And for me, and for everyone who's on this journey, they're going to find their own way and do it in just within their own space. But even like within real estate, what's really cool is you've chosen to take mindfulness into a way of life, not just as a family person, not as just as a mother or a wife, but as a businesswoman too. This mindfulness, and tell us a little bit about that. Like, what's your actual kind of your website, and tell us about just the way you show up that way.
Okay. And this was part of the process, was getting to the point of like, how do I do real estate? So this is the most excited I've ever been to do my job. So my website is mindfulagent.com, and mindfulness is just part of who I am now. So it's also part of how I do business.
And if you could define mindfulness for people
in real estate?
Yeah, sure. That would be perfect.
So I think that typically in real estate, and I do residential real estate, but in real estate in general, there is the overall essence or vibe is frantic, question marks, not trusting necessarily the person you're working with or the information you're getting, or that you have it all, or is there another option, all that space. What do I really want? And then there's just a lot of the negative emotions, which are like worry, fear, doubt.
Sure.
Those kind of run the escrow. They run the show when you're buying and selling a home. That's where most people's heads are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's a big thing.
It's a big thing. And you don't have an agent like you have a doctor. Like, you don't see them all the time. You only see them when you're doing this one thing. So you may or may not have one that you trust. You might be starting a new relationship while you're going into this highly negative experience, and intense by time and by what's going on and by the amount of money that we're talking about when you're buying or selling a home. So mindful agent, and what I do in business is the opposite of that list. So create a lot of trust, open communication. Instead of frantic, the goal is flow. Taking the air out of the worry, fear, doubt balloon, and just letting people know there's always a solution. It's a solution-based approach to real estate. There's always an option, and there's points along the way in whether you're looking to sell or looking to buy in the escrow, right, or getting ready to close. There's things that can come up. It's not like things can't go wrong. That is the nature of the beast, right? But to know on a deep level, because I know on a deep level, and I'm holding her hand through this process, that there's always a solution, option, or other, safe place to land. Nothing can come up that we can't find an answer to or fix.
So when it comes to real estate, I mean, there's a lot of, I would say, good realtors when it comes to mechanics. As far as
you
knowledge,
have to have the mechanics.
Yeah, that's kind of a no. Mechanics, of how to write a contract and how to make an offer and how to
negotiate,
counter, how to negotiate. There's mechanics to real estate.
Correct.
But that's not what you're talking about, is it?
No. So seasoned agents have mechanics. There's a lot of seasoned agents. You have to know the contract because the contract dictates, when money's going non-refundable, or you can't back out of the deal. All those rules within the contract you have to know intimately, right? Negotiating, networking. We're in a low inventory market right now, so that's a real asset to find properties, because that's the hardest thing to do. That's the most challenging thing right now. But the mindfulness piece lays over all of that. So it's an arc above the mechanics where, I don't know, maybe most people don't even think about it in this profession. I haven't seen it, though I have worked with cross agents who can get right and flow with it. That's amazing. Those transactions are amazing, because if you set the whole thing up to be positive
and partnering
in partnership with your seller, so it's not just you and your client, it's you, your client, the other client and their agent, and then plus the title and escrow in between, and the lender. So there's a lot of people involved. It's not just the two of you against the world, right? So partnership, positivity, a deep knowing that because in the beginning we talk about what's truly important.
And there's
to the
almost
client.
a coaching aspect for you there too,
Yeah.
right? Because if I'm listing my home with you, I may have emotional reasons for listing at this price or
Correct.
that price. And you've got to kind of coach me into a truth. And if we're not in partnership, it's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
And then there's also, if I'm buying a home, I might have emotional reasons for wanting to buy a home. And maybe those aren't really honorable to my biggest path, because usually when we're in our heavy emotions, fear, doubt, worry, we're not usually doing things at our highest path.
Yep.
And that can make it so that we end up in a home that is either overpriced, or there's a choice out of desperation, or there's a
settling.
You're settling because you're fearful that you're not going. This is as best as you can do. There's a lot of those emotions. So talk about the coaching and the partnership piece there, because it's not just like you whatever I say you got to do. That's not how it works with you personally.
Correct. No, I can do that too. Those clients exist too. But because some people are very clear about what's happening, and that would be more on the investment end of things, right? Where it's more numbers, and that's a different ball of wax.
Right.
But for most clients, it starts with how the relationship starts, which is open communication, really getting to know the person and what their true goals are. And that comes from asking questions from experience of doing this a lot of times. I can get a pretty good read on where somebody is when I first meet them, with how they're feeling about it. And then I can ask questions to help them find their own truth or get close to it, even if maybe they don't really know. And so there's a discovery period for people when we work together.
And that I would perceive as for me, I know that as the coaching.
Sure. Yeah, you could call that the coaching. Another thing I'm going to do, and so I'm putting it out there, you can all hear me, being my own accountability partner now, is I had the idea to do a visualization for buyers and sellers, where it would be short, 5-6 minutes that people could use while they're working with me. That would be, I'm going to do general ones, but I might start doing custom ones for certain people if it made sense.
To keep them in the frame of mind?
To keep them in the frame of mind of what are we looking for? What is the true goal that will make you completely happy? What are the things maybe that don't matter that, you know, we can get lost in, to kind of stay. So one is to kind of like keep you focused and super in touch with the ultimate goal, the essence goal, but also it keeps you grounded when things might get unsure, worry, fear, doubt, right? It can keep you grounded in what we know, so that you have this little nugget of knowing that the two of us have together, that's just us for this journey that we're doing, and we can both come back to it whenever we need, or do it consistently, and then it'll enhance the manifestation of what you're doing.
Right. Mm-hmm. And this is where I want to really break down, and as you can see, I get a little excited about the goosebumpies. Is because I wanted to press a little bit more, because for people to understand what it means to live mindfully and to integrate that into your business, you're not doing anything strange. Just deciding you wanted to partner with people.
Yes.
Just deciding you wanted to really get to the deeper truth. You said that, which was a really beautiful thing to say, to the deeper truth of what they want and why they want it. Mm-hmm. And to coach them through that process. And that's just to get out the door.
Yes.
You know, that's the key to get out the door. And I truly believe that's been one of the huge reasons for your next level of abundance that you've received and where you're headed. And a numb person could have never been in touch with others.
No, because the knowing that I can help other people find in this little box of real estate can only happen because I'm coming already with a knowing of self in real estate. Yeah. And I didn't always have that. So that was work for me to get to a point where I had the knowing of myself in real estate in a way, without relying on, you know, a partner or a team coach, like a leader, to do it myself. And then as that muscle has grown, like we were saying before, from consistency, and, you know, I was scared to go into my first listing appointment by myself. Really scared. I had to sit in my car, breathe, get really open. I had a visualization that was helping me stay grounded, helping me keep the truth running, and I got it. And it was like, okay, I know I can do this. And like each time that happened, it built that muscle. And now I operate in a much more open flow way where I want to be as open and transparent and clear about how I work and how the process will go, because it's not going to be a fit for everyone. And if it's not a fit, that's okay too.
Right.
And before it was like I was holding on so tight to the dollar. Now it's like we were talking about money. The energy of money is flowing around. It's not my end goal. It is just part of the work that I do, that it comes. Yeah. That was a huge leap for me, because in real estate, you don't say no to business. Ask anybody, right? It's very interesting to get to a place where you can, for me, to be open enough and knowing enough with myself to offer this, knowing that the people who are ready and want to work this way, we're going to have this incredible experience. And beyond just like finding the home or selling the home for the right amount or more than, or all of that, connection. A true connection. There's a level of love and energy and connection that comes with it that just you can't create in any other way.
And the house buying process is such a big deal. It's typically everyone's biggest purchase they'll ever make.
Yes.
And it's meant to be something that's enjoyable, fun, intimate. And if I'm working with somebody like you, the level of love that can be experienced, joy, happiness, which is what it should be. And that's really what you bring to the table. And you won't sacrifice yourself anymore.
Absolutely, no.
For somebody who doesn't buy into that concept.
Well, I mean, I'm a business person, so it doesn't have to be like, the people who are ready for that get the depth of it, right? But there's all kinds of levels of it. I have a surface level of mindfulness. If you are extremely direct, I have a current client who's extremely direct and has very limited time and a very specific goal. And so I'm very mindful to be, with my word choice, to keep it completely efficient, to follow up on everything so he's not wondering what happened, and to honestly tell him what we need to do to reach the goal constantly. So that's a real different feeling than the ooey gooey I was just talking about.
Right.
But that's still mindfulness in real estate.
Right.
Because I'm meeting him where he needs,
where he's at.
That's the job. right? So mindfulness
But without
there's
the
a
sacrifice
spectrum
of your own integrity.
No,
without
I'm
your own
not
values,
worried that I'm
and
going to
he's
get in
not-
trouble if I
and
don't.
He's not verbally beating you up, and you're not allowing that kind of space.
But me 5 years ago couldn't have handled this client
Right.
in this way. It would have been more stressful for me and then in effect for client.
Right.
So now, because realtors are human beings who aren't in a 9 to 5 where you can be at your desk and then you get the star and then you move on, we're out in the world without a real schedule except what we have going on. There's not a lot to ground you. And it's a tough business. So it's really easy to be lost and to be always giving and be empty.
Right.
So if you're coming from a full cup instead of an empty cup, you can create and offer an experience to people that is more, higher rate of success in a faster time. That's an effective mindful real estate, right? Deep connection. I have a client who, it's the first client who came through my website. So mindfulagent.com, I got an email. Typically those are to follow my blog. It was the first one that was kind of saying, hey, I think I want to sell my house. Can you give me a call? And her name is Linda. And because it came through the website, I realized I wasn't being as mindful in my business as I was even thought I was being, because she chose me based on mindfulness. The first client who came to me that way. And it just amplified every level of mindfulness for me in business. And it was even more flowy and more amazing, even though what we were trying to accomplish had challenges.
Right.
And everything worked out. And so she's dear to me and I'm dear to her, and we have a deep connection. So there's a full spectrum of how the mindfulness can work for someone.
But with
working
the
with
foundation for you, the honor, the integrity, how you show up stays consistent.
Yeah.
It just may look slightly or even in opposite ends of the spectrum differently depending on
I'm really open to the client's needs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing I'd say is this formula that you speak of, if you're somebody sitting at a desk, if you're somebody who's a salesperson, if you're a leader of a company, it really doesn't matter if you understand the concept of partnership, have deeper intentions, to choose that you just want to show up differently in your business or in your life and own the experience more, which is what you're really doing. That's possible. And some of your mindfulness classes and things like talk and break some of this stuff down, right?
Yes. The manifesting class is really the most broken down. But yeah, I take those kind of larger concepts where there's a lot of ways you could go with them in your head and to try to start and try to give a real toolbox and roadmap so you can get started on your own.
Yeah. It's a really cool thing.
It's fun. It's really fun to teach. It keeps me super connected to it too. So I benefit probably more than anyone in the room.
And that's the other thing is this, it's almost as if the classes kind of chose you. That's how this work for me has felt. It chose me.
Manifesting 101 chose me. That came through, like when you're falling asleep and something's coming into your head and you can't go to sleep, you have to write it down. Well, typically that was something that I was worried about. That's how I know that feeling. And then until I got it on paper, I wouldn't have been able to sleep. This was a definition of manifesting that was so clear. And I mean, I had to share it with people.
Yeah.
It came to me. And so, yes, it chose me in that way.
Yeah. And it's cool because you don't share it as a need. So that makes you feel better. It's not something that you have to do because it's part of your purpose or your mission. It's this thing that just overflows, just like the concept we were talking about, right?
Yes. It was a gift from the universe that came through me. And when those start happening, or you start noticing them, if they're already happening, they're very special. They're very grounded, and they're very, like we were saying, the truth, the knowing of concepts that we all walk around with. That's like a deep knowing that you maybe have no reference point for, but that you just feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a fun thing. And again, that class, really, the opportunity isn't so much to give to other people. It's how you can grow more by even teaching the class.
Yes. Personally, yes, absolutely.
And every time I sit in the chair, even doing this podcasting stuff, people have been asking me to do this for like 3 or 4 years, and I've just been like,
Why the hesitation?
Because one, there was a timing thing. I was traveling a lot. I mean, all excuses, really. I mean, I could have done it in any way, shape, or form before. I just feel like now I'm in a position where I truly am comfortable putting myself out there in a different way. Because I've kind of liked the anonymity that I've had, and I've liked flying under the radar in a lot of ways. But the truth of the matter is the universe has always been pushing me to get out there more. And last year was one of the big pushes. I'm like, all right, I'm ready. I'm like, I'm ready to step up and go into bigger, and I think I even said arenas.
Okay.
And literally then
you got Madison Square Garden.
Yep, Madison Square Garden.
Come on.
Yeah, so I chose at the beginning of last year, I'm like, all right, I'm ready to step out there more. And then like the next thing I knew, I was leading a group at Madison Square Garden, which was really cool. And so I've been slowly doing it more. I'm starting to get into more social media now and things like that for different reasons. But I just now realize how important it is to not only share from this bigger space, because the content, I mean, I have giant libraries of content.
I can't even imagine
that, because
the work you do. Yeah. I have libraries just from my sessions.
Yeah.
And I'm one person.
And I always find it fascinating too, because you come to a lot of the group stuff that I speak at or teach.
I love the group classes.
And I'm like, man, like, what is she gonna get out of this? Because like, we do so much work together.
There's always a nugget.
Yeah. And
or a reinforcement, or someone will ask a question in a different way, because everyone comes from their own perspective. And so to learn from other people kind of is more what I'm doing there than learning from you. Right. Does that make sense?
100%.
So that, I love group settings. It's the same thing at North & Co. When Brian North teaches sales skills, I went to that class 700 times but I'd always get a nugget, even though I knew it front and back, because someone else would ask a question about how to run an open house, or, how to do this in a deal. And it would bring something up we'd never talked about before. And so the same with your classes, someone will ask, well, like, can you keep your cup full? Right. And then you'll say something that we've never gotten to.
Right.
So I love a group setting, and I was always, like I said before, trying not to connect with everyone and just go in and retreat. And it's taken a long time for me to see and know that all of us are teachers. It's just being open enough to receive from the people around you. Right.
And feeling like you have the energy. And the only reason have the energy now is because you're giving to yourself so fully. True. That you just share what overflows.
Also,
and you never get tired.
Yeah, true. I feel sometimes like, wait, I'm supposed to be tired or sick by now. What's going on? Do I need an emergency? And then that's like that old programming of what my body knew, or the brain knew. The body didn't know that. To do.
Yeah. Can we transition to health, your health?
Yeah.
And not in any like health problems necessarily, but more, tell me what like training has been like for you now with this elevated food. Sure. Any of these topics that I feel like are really important for people to hear from your perspective on food, exercise. Tell me more about how this growth has changed your life.
Sure. I was living in the food and exercise to sort of punish the body more than love on the body, to make it be something that other people externally wanted. And I wanted to, because of the external reaction, benefit, what have you. Sure. To be skinny, to be muscly, to be whatever, fill in the blank, whatever that is for you. So for me, it was more of a punishment. So I wouldn't eat enough, or I would eat like all sugar, but then I'd like exercise it all off. And it was like this negative loop I was in with, it gave me a place to control things. So that felt good. And so through this work, I've learned that body movement is actually very meditative and can be very mindful. And as you start to love on your body the same way you love on yourself, meaning like talking to yourself in your mind, but love on your body like talking to it, instead of like pushing it so hard, that it changes. Like cellularly, it changes. So as I went from okay, beating myself up at the gym to like, let's just be more mindful with the movements I'm doing so I don't get injured in my shoulder all the time. So I went there first. So then I slowed down and I was doing the same things, but I was doing them more mindfully. Then I got to, didn't do that as well as I probably could have because I got really injured and I couldn't walk. So I couldn't do any of my HIIT classes or jump around or do the same squats and all the stuff I was doing in the gym. So my only option was yoga. But the universe was like, fine, if you're not going to listen, we're just going to hurt you till you go get in the yoga room. And I'd never done yoga. I was anti-yoga because it involves connection, and I was scared or didn't know or didn't understand what that was.
Yeah, and even to that beautiful female essence, that was another area.
My female was definitely, what's the right word?
Suppressed?
Suppressed, that's the right word. Mm-hmm. And so, once my injury healed, I kind of like kept the yoga because I loved it and I could feel, because I was already doing some work, that adding that in made me feel into my body more. But I kind of tried to do both that and the workouts I used to do, but that fell away really fast. And then it just became yoga.
Yeah. Are you doing any strength training at all?
I've just started to work it back in.
You gotta come up here. We gotta do some more stuff.
Yeah.
Haven't we trained once before?
Yes, on the TRX.
Yeah, I really...
Because mindful training lovingly with your body, the body is so unbelievably insane as a machine. When you add in the love piece, it just goes to another level. And maybe you had said that to me, or maybe I had seen that from people, but until you do it yourself and you know it, I just don't think you just don't know, right? And so now it's not like food. So that was all body external, but then there's also the piece of what you're putting into your body. I was always health-minded for the sake of being thin. I was never health-minded for the sake of nurturing my body. So that was the shift.
Yeah. So choosing foods, not because, this won't make me fat.
Correct.
But to choose a food because, you know what, this says to my body, I love
it.
Right? Or choosing a workout, not because you need to get stronger in this way because you're not enough, because that's what we, like typically workouts in the gym is like, I'm not enough. And it's choosing it because my body would love this functional movement.
Correct.
This beautiful yoga. And like you said before, at some point, I said this because Dilo was here, and which and on another podcast, and I truly don't believe we age as far as like we get more fragile or whatever else. I think it's our body just getting more tired of us.
Beating it up.
Yeah. And
not taking care of it, not loving it.
And it just starts speaking up more.
Yeah.
So you can't get away with as much when you get older, not because the cellular body is actually fairly young. I mean, most of the cells of the body
it's like regenerating all the time.
Yeah, in 7 years, most every cell in the body will be brand new. And so if that's the case, then we really shouldn't age physically as much as we do. And there's theory that people lived, 150, 200, 300, 400 years.
Pre-industrial, like long times ago.
Long time, like Lao Tzu times,
Okay.
And so we've just become a society that with the humanness, our human construct has broken down our body so much faster, and the age of it has then matched, because the body can only do so much. When you cut it, it's meant to be perfect. It heals on its own.
It's amazing.
Yeah, you don't have to tell your heart to beat. You don't have to tell the blood to flow or where the oxygen needs to go. It's designed in this wisdom.
And that is so powerful, everything you just said. And for anyone who's trying to incorporate and maybe feel like they don't have gratitude, they can't find a thing of gratitude. Today or yesterday, I thanked my heart for beating without me thinking about it. So even if you think you don't have anything to be grateful for, you always have your body. It's always working for you.
Yep.
It's always talking to you. And as you start connecting more with it and tuning into it and giving it love, like it fills your cup.
Yeah. And so
It
choosing
gives it right
foods-
back to you.
Yeah, choosing those foods
Yeah.
is an opportunity to say, I love you, and I'm grateful. Choosing honorable or mindful working out. And that's why I love the TRX. I mean, you have to be mindful. You have to.
You have to, or you'll injure yourself.
Or you just won't be in balance and you can't.
You'll fall. Yeah.
And so the mindful work it creates such a beautiful partnership where you have to mentally let go and trust the body. There's a lot of that work that's pretty much the only work I do with that. And that's the stuff you really learn to.
And same with eating. I mean, for men and women, but for women especially, and as a woman, the pressure to look and be a certain way is on a 15 out of 10, I think.
Yeah.
So to change how you think about what you're putting into your body, I think is more important than working out. I think you could stop working out and focus on nutrition for a minute, like get that muscle going, because it needs the right nourishment and the right rest.
Yeah.
And we're out of balance on what we're doing to our bodies and not what we're giving to them.
And that's 100% accurate. And there's the male and female energy are both within each
Yes,
each
of course.
gender.
Yes.
And there's different ratios in each. Both are extremely important. Just like the human mind, the human construct is actually extremely important. The universe, you can't have the bigger mind, the higher mind, or the universal mind, or the universe without humans, and the humans without the universe. They both are required. You don't forsake your humanness to try to be spiritual. It doesn't work. You have to have humanness because you have to have a place for the spirituality, the higher self, the bigger thoughts. And again, I say all these different things because spirituality can literally just mean think bigger. Think zoom out. Or it could mean channeling some connection to the universe, which is much like nature, which is easy. I mean, you look at a tree, it's not working hard to grow, to exist, especially in Arizona. You know, it's 115 degrees, it's sitting there chilling.
Yeah.
It's 30, which it got to.
Yeah,
It's just
it's sitting there chilling.
You know, drought, it's chilling.
Yeah.
A lot of rain, I mean, like, that's how we're meant to be that way. And that's what I would say when you tap into the universe. It's really just tap into like nature, if that's as far as you want to go. It doesn't matter. The whole point is that energy, that construct can't happen without the human construct. Male energy can't happen without female energy. And they're both required in a healthy balance of both.
Yeah.
And so whether you're a male or a female listening to this, it doesn't really matter. Ideally, though, because of the pressures of females and what that thing is, to just take food or exercise and use it as an opportunity to just tell yourself, I love you. That's huge because it is a ton of pressure.
Yeah.
Based on society. And that's a whole nother conversation. But what I would just say in the short term of that is that, you know, the most powerful things we tend to try to hold back. And I truly believe the female energy, because again, Mother Earth, and because of females in general, like, the most powerful energy in all of us, myself included, is the female energy. And then so the females out there are truly the most powerful of genders. And they're the most suppressed as a result of it.
Suppressed. I was a suppressed female. And I think most females, because we're operating in kind of like a male energy dominated world, suppress their female. So even though, like, I wasn't saying women versus men, but like, we're operating with more male and suppressed female as women, and the power and everything you said is the female. It's the nurturer, the creative and the nurturer. And so when you can get that going, whether you're a man or a woman in gender, find that energy in yourself to nurture yourself. Everything benefits. Just like a nurturing mother or nurturing a plant, right? You have to nurture yourself.
Yeah, and there's always this joke out there that men couldn't have babies, and not only
literally could not,
literally, but also like we're not as tough as women, which I truly believe, and there is a real reality to the pressure, and I would say the simple justification for the pressure is, I think there's a real fear of things that are very powerful, and so I think there's this conscious / subconscious over the course of time where women have been suppressed more by society, and I agree. And again, because it's not a male versus female thing, it's a natural human construct. There's anything that's powerful, we tend to fear. You know, nuclear power plant. Very scary thing.
Yes,
it's
fear.
Extremely loud. You know, like There's things out there, so it's not even I appreciate you saying it's not a one versus the other. Go ahead.
But that's why it's so important for everyone, and especially females, because to find your female.
100%. Because
that's how we'll heal the world.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the healing energy of the universe.
100%.
We still need the male. We can't. It's not about not having male energy, because the male is the action. So you can create an idea, but then you have to go take. You still have to have the balls to go take the action.
Yeah.
Excuse my pun.
That's pretty awesome. But no, and that's true. And I'm glad, because we've had these conversations before, and there was a time where you were almost dismissive of your male energy because you.
Correct. I retreated away from that one to get I just went out of balance in the other way.
Yeah. And so it is. You're 100% accurate. Male energy is the action. Female energy is the creative. So if you want to manifest, you better be tapping into your female energy. You can make money in male energy, but man, is it a grind.
100%. And I know everyone listening can feel that.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that feeling.
Male or female, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
If you're trying to create wealth and abundance through the male energy.
Exclusively,
action only.
Yes.
It is a
grind.
And if you leave room for the universe's magic, you leave room for the creative to be a part of the action process.
Some female energy.
You have a much more natural and exponentially greater opportunity to make money than a 1-to-1 ratio.
It feels too easy. When you start allowing it to come in, stuff will kind of flow a little bit, and you're like, whoa, that was too easy. It can't be that easy, right? So naturally, because we know the grind, you're like, something's wrong.
Right.
That can't be that. That can't be. 100%. And you might go back to grind. So you might find yourself in the in-between a little while when you start playing with this. I felt that way.
I did too.
Yeah.
Same way. It's really hard because I came from that very tough world of everything had to be a grind. And that was like a badge of honor. The harder you you grinded, the better it was, and the more you earned it or whatever. And so if it was easy, it was uncomfortable. Yeah.
So it's you have to kind of feel into it when you make that, if you start working on that shift.
Yeah. And I love the body kind of propelled us into this, but I'm telling you, you know some of these stories, but people don't understand how powerful it is to manifest from the combination of action and higher self, female self, universal self, because I've literally visualized receiving gold, and I've actually gotten paid in gold. Like, not some version, like literally 1 ounce gold coins, gotten paid in my hand, say here. Like,
powerful.
Craziness.
Everyone is capable of that.
Yeah. And you have so many stories that are just like that.
Sure.
From your journey as you found the balance. And one simple way to understand manifestation or understand this process is just start, and we go back to the body and the food, just start by choosing a food, choosing an exercise that says to your body, I love you.
Yeah, one thing.
One thing.
Yeah.
It's that simple. And it's all the small things. If you're wondering how to get this started, it is not some big leap. It is a simple brushing your teeth, thinking some thoughts. It's a simple gratitude in the morning. It's wiggling your toes and going, hey. Thank you. It's the simplest of actions.
Yes.
And they just build. And
Correct.
you just keep adding and adding.
Yes. That's the practice.
I love you.
I love you too. That was super fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Anytime.
And I'm excited because I'm sure we'll do some more collaborating in the future.
Yes.
On many different things. So keep on the lookout for that. And so Kris McLaughlin, thank you for your presence, your love, your magical energy today.
Thank you.
And
for yours.
Yeah, we'll have a good time hearing this one back.
Yeah, I can't wait.
All right.
Lots of love.